Oh, look. 6 more classic adventures for Wizards of the Coast to screw over. No, OGGM, you're being too hard. They'll probably be perfectly fine. They're just going to be 5th edition conversions of adventures we love. I mean, they did a perfectly fine job with the last time they did this. 10 years ago. Before Crawford and the inclusion thing. I'm sure they'll be fine. Okay, thank you, ENWorld, for being the first to drop this knowledge bomb. We knew this was coming out. This is a 50th anniversary anthology thing they're doing. Of course, no mention of the 50th anniversary anywhere in the product, where they're taking some classic adventures and re-releasing them through 5th edition now that they've passed through the inclusion thing. Because as we know, nothing from the old days will hold up to the inclusion policy of 2024 D&D, which leaves some of these extremely questionable. So if you are wondering which of the classic adventures that they now acknowledge exist, they're running through to this. It's Beyond the Crystal Cave, a first E-adventure set in Greyhawk, where the PCs are hired to save a couple who has eloped and fled into a cave of Echo. And then the stuff, I don't remember that one, but I know it exists. Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, a classic with lasers and robot guns, because now I guess that's going to be a thing in 5e. The second you introduce Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, you introduce spaceships. Now I know you're saying, but wait, didn't Goodman Games do Expedition to the Barrier Peaks? Don't they have the rights to the classics? Well, they did, but based upon the prices on eBay and the fact they're no longer on the Goodman Games site, I guess they decided not to continue the contract because the eBay prices have shot up to a couple $100, and there's no more links to them on the Goodman Games site. So those classics revisited that Goodman Games were doing, which were just amazing. If you had a chance to buy them, congratulations. Just if you never had a chance to buy them, hope and pray you find them in the wild for under $100, because wow, what a great job they did. Probably better than this. It'll also be Pharaoh, because it's, Hickman, Margaret, and Tracy, and we know Wizards of the Coast hates them. Now, I can't imagine how a Egyptian-themed adventure with a pharaoh and slavery and all those other Egyptian tropes are going to be held up to the mirror of today. So I can't imagine how they're going to screw over Pharaoh, one of the best written adventures ever. They're not doing the whole Desert of Desolation. They're just doing Pharaoh, the classic Pharaoh, which is up till now nobody's been reprinted. But I guess Margaret and Tracy have either just given up, or that's something to do. Then they're finally revisiting Pharaoh. But you and I both know Pharaoh will not hold up to the inclusivity panel of 2024 Dungeons & Dragons, because it deals with historical Egyptian things like dead bodies, life after death, mummies, slavery, pyramids. So who knows what 5e Pharaoh will look like. They're doing Lost Caverns of Tasso Jonith, another one of Gary's classic vampire. This was meant to be a module one-shot. It was not meant to be a campaign, but you turned it into a campaign. Everybody says you can run Tasso Jonith in one setting. No, you can't. No, you can't. So this is another one that would probably not pass the inclusivity. So who knows what it's going to look like. Plus, it's by Gary, and we know they hate Gary. And then they're doing The Lost City by Tom. The Lost City, another one that's considered amazing. You hear Dungeon Coach and several other people talk about The Lost City all the time. And yes, The Lost City was reprinted through the Goodman Games Classics Revisited thing, and it was pretty awesome. It's considered one of the best of the ones that they did. It is a highly sought out. Hundreds of people have talked about the Classics Revisited that the Goodman Games did. Dungeon Coach talks about it all the time. A couple other guys talk about it all the time. Professor Dungeon Master talks about it all the time. Professor Dungeon Master ran a whole campaign around the Lost City, and he's done a whole bunch of stuff with the Lost City. It's no longer available on the Goodman Games site, and the cheapest you can find it on eBay is $500. This will be the Wizards of the Coast version of Tom's Classic. So it's going to be, again, we know it won't pass the Wizards of the Coast inclusivity, diversity, whatever. So I can't imagine what it's going to look like. And When a Star Falls, which is a very obscure first edition AD&D module that most people can think was really badly written. I'm not sure how this is. This is a planner adventure because other than Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, all these take place in either Greyhawk or, well, Greyhawk. Almost every one of these take place in or around Greyhawk. So are they saying, hey, we acknowledge Greyhawk exists again? Or are they going to be scrubbing any mention of Greyhawk from these and re-releasing them as a, brand new 5e appropriate just in time for the 50th edition? Notice that nowhere on here does it say the 50th. This is not a special for the 50th. It's just we're milking the nostalgia in the hopes that we can recapture some of the older players who are really angry at us, like OGGM and Diversity and Dragons and Professor Dungeon Master and all the other grognards who love these adventures. But of course, we know none of these adventures will hold up to the inclusivity because they were written by a bunch of white guys who are war gamers, right? We know what they think of us. So I would not be very excited about these. I mean, I would love to see reprints of all these adventures because I never got a chance to buy the Goodman Games ones. But come on, we know they're not going to be purely converted. First, you're converting them to 5e from older editions, and all the 5e things, which makes dungeons like Tassojanus and Pharaoh and Expedition way more safe. Second, you've got to scrub anything that anybody might be offended by, which include considering Pharaoh. That's a ton of stuff you're going to have to scrub. Oh no, it's based on ancient Egypt, historically accurate Egypt. We can't have that. People might be offended by the fact that this actually happened. So we're going to replace slaves with people who want to be there. And we're going to replace mummies and dead bodies and preserving the dead and the whole Egyptian thing with, I don't know, cupcakes. But yeah, it's out, or it'll be out, and I'm sure somebody will get it and say it's the best thing ever. But most of us who have actually read the modules and love the modules will be looking for them online or be scouring eBay, hoping that the Goodman Game ones drop in price. If you have the Goodman Game ones, don't let them go. They're going to be 100 times better. And they've already been converted to 5th. Goodman Games already did this. If you don't have the Goodman Games ones, be on the lookout. If you find them in the wild, grab them up because they're $300, $400, $500 on eBay, or hope that they drop down. Why didn't Goodman Games renew the contract and keep, I don't know, probably either Wizards wouldn't let them, or the contract was way too draconian, or Goodman Games just said, you know what? I have nothing to do with you. Screw you, Wizards. Anyways, you're being negative. I'm tired of the negativity. You're just an old man who's shaking his fist. You're so negative. Yeah, I'm negative because these were all wonderfully wacky, weird adventures that, are going to be sanitized. That's, and you guys aren't going to be able to appreciate how well the classics, especially Pharaoh. I mean, that's up there with Ravenloft, of one of the best of all time. You can't top Pharaoh as a funhouse dungeon, and it's a tournament dungeon, and you're converting it to a 5e dungeon on Greyhawk. Except it won't be on Greyhawk because apparently, we don't want to acknowledge Greyhawk exists. We don't want to acknowledge anything that Margaret or Tracy made. We don't want to acknowledge anything Gary made because they're a bunch of white people sitting in a basement 50 years ago who played war gamers. So we know what will, these are your words, Wizards. They wouldn't pass the inclusivity panel of today. So whatever we're going to get is going to have gone through the brilliant brain of individuals like Kyle Brink and Connie Chung and Mackenzie and these other people. Oh, we can't have mummies. Mummies are historically accurate. Yeah, but they're offensive. It's hard to be positive about things like this and see the good of it. Well, hey, they're reprinting stuff people might never have seen before. No, they're reprinting the 5e sanitized version of these. If you want the real versions, the way they were written, updated, grab the Goodman Games ones if you can find them. That's all I can say. Anyways, that's all I got today. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.